Welcome back to Hannity. 2 days after being shot in the face in the line of duty, 25-year-old New York City police officer Brian Moore has tragically died today. Now, Moore was gunned down by a career criminal, Demetrius Blackwell. He was considered an exemplary police officer, was the recipient of multiple service medals, yet there are no protests for Officer Brian Moore tonight. Where's the outrage for the tragic loss of this life? Here now with reaction, Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark, criminal defense attorney Rebecca Nitkin is with us. Sheriff, we lose a lot of officers every year, and I would sadly bet that most people do not know any of their names. Why is that?
We know the answer to that. Cops' lives don't matter. That's why. My thoughts and prayers are with the survivors of the family members of Brian Moore and with my colleagues at the NYPD, and Commissioner Bratton was out there about a month ago, spent a lot of time with street officers, told them to keep their chin up, that I was proud of them. Brian Moore struck down in the prime of his life, serving his community by a black suspect. Brian Moore is a white officer, and there's no doubt that had Brian Moore shot and killed the suspect who shot him, it would have led the news, it would have led every news outlet in America, and it would have said, white officer shoots black suspect, and I think that's sick. But that's where we've come to in the United States.
But Sheriff, when you look at the numbers, the number of black Americans that are shot by police officers, depending on which statistic you use, is maybe in the 130 range. When you look on black murders, crime, killings, homicides, that number is close to 9,000. We never hear about those people that are killed in Chicago and Detroit and inner cities in America. But it's only when the police are involved in a shooting. Everybody wants to just race out there and condemn the cops. How do they do their job in this environment now?
Well, you know, we have big shoulders, and we volunteered for this. That's why I tell these cops to keep their chin up. You know, the black-on-black crime that occurs in these urban centers across America should bring tears to the eyes of a brass monkey. But, of course, that's glossed over, that's swept over the rug. And one of these rare instances, and you know what, they're all tragic, but one of these rare instances when a law enforcement officer has to use force to defend himself or the life of somebody else and takes the life of a black individual, you know, all of a sudden the sky is falling. You know, I don't have the answer for this, but I know this much, that the occurrences of any officer shooting a black suspect, the figures I've seen between 2009 and 2012, about 34% of officers using force against black males. And in that same time period, 61% of the people killed by law enforcement officers were white. That's the reality. That's the statistic. That's the data to support the fact that it is a myth that law enforcement officers indiscriminately target and shoot black males as if it's some sort of sport.
Rebecca, let me bring you into this. Do you believe the prosecutor here overstepped her bounds by saying this is our movement, and to those of you who are crying no justice, no peace, do you believe she overcharged these officers and rushed to judgment?
Absolutely. I agree with everything that way. But I want to get back to what you're talking about and give you three things. First of all, most of America is not thrilled with these demonstrations. Most of us are extremely sick of Al Sharpton and the civil rights attorney who come preaching their stories, which are usually inaccurate. And then we're sick of the violence that comes with it. That's number one. Number two, I'm in Montgomery County. I am dealing with police abuse every single day. I have a case tomorrow. I brought a picture of my gentleman whose face is bashed in, his lip is gone, his eyes are crushed. The jail wouldn't even take him. They made the police bring him back to the hospital, and the report says he beat up 5 police officers, and then he flung himself off of the stairs, even though his legs are all scratched up from being dragged down the stairs. I can go on and on.
This is a personal case.
There are no...
Were you there? Do you know? I mean, I wasn't there.
I am a defense attorney. I have all of the facts. I go to trial. I win all of the time. My guy shot 7 times for being on the lawn. I had 2 jury trials. Yes, I won. I have
so you're saying cops are out of control. Is that your narrative?
I am saying it used to be that cops were wonderful. I love them all, and it is heartbreaking for someone who's a true believer, whose dad's a Marine, who loved police officers, that they don't protect and serve anymore. They look at you, they
That's
order you.
That's a broad, sweeping statement you're making.
It is not.
They don't protect and serve anymore.
I do this every day of my life.
I understand, and you make money. You're making money off of this. But my question to you,
I do pro bono.
You do everything's pro bono. Every case you take.
Those 2 jury trials for that kid that got
and you don't ever get a percentage of the. You don't ever get a percentage of the take.
Pro bono.
Every case.
2 jury trials, pro bono.
Every case?
No, I'm a criminal defense attorney.
Right, you make your money doing
any
this.
Civil cases. Not a lot.
Don't be embarrassed over it. It's a way to make a living.
And the third thing I was going to say is that every time a police officer is killed, it is heartbreaking. Right. But the one thing is, they have their support, Sean. There's hundreds of police officers that line up and support the police officer.
I'm asking, where are the people that were protesting? Where are the Al Sharptons? Where are the people that show up in Ferguson, but they won't show up for the officers? There is a huge,
6 dead bodies in Montgomery County.
Double standard.
Not one person protested.
Well, it sounds like you have a personal something going on here that
I'm just a lawyer.
It just sounds like it. Well, it sounds like you have a personal investment in it. But I got to run. Thank you both for being with us. Coming up, 2 radical Islamists.